picked up a brand new copy because I was intending on getting into this. So I'm
Look at
getting back
that.
into it.
Fresh copy. Still got the
A
plastic
fresh
on it.
copy.
Amazing.
You here, Josie?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
We are going to get started here in a second. We'll just give everyone else a couple more minutes to jump on.
I had a meeting with Nelson this morning, and I'm like, we were supposed to meet at 10, and I texted him early. I'm like, I forgot it's ACIM. So we met for 15 minutes right before the call, so it was perfect.
Nice. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, um, if I got the text right, you said something about this. Today is going to be something about anxiety, correct?
We will talk about anxiety. Yeah, I just felt like it was a good good topic.
Well, I think it's a good topic, especially in this election year.
Mm. Really interesting. I got pulled into a call yesterday with Senator Loomis from Wyoming. That was my first exposure to actually to politics, kind of, because I was just like, wherever Marianne Williamson goes, I'll vote for her. I didn't even know which party she was representing, but I'm just like, that. And I was at a meetup, and they're like asking me questions. I was like, what? This is ridiculous. Some of the things I'm like, wait, so I'm pro some of these things, and like, oh well, that's Democratic. I'm like, okay, and then some other things. I'm like, that's Republican. So I ended up getting looped into taking a test of where I stand and who I am and whatever, and I'm like almost right in the middle. It's pretty funny. And I'm like,
Which
this
most
is
of us are.
yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous that everybody gets so crazy over it. But yeah, I got looped into this call. They're trying to raise the Republican Party is trying to raise $10 million in the next 2 weeks.
Mm.
I was like, oh, this is fun.
Don't worry, the Democrats are trying to do the same exact thing. So
Well, apparently the Democrats are much better at raising capital than the Republicans. I don't know.
I don't know. According to the Democrats, they don't seem to. I think they're selling the same
That's
challenge. You know what I mean?
oh, interesting, interesting. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have that much interest in it. We'll just we'll just read A Course in Miracles and call it a day. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, got people watching. Okay, no more politic talks. All right, so we're going to get started. Thank you guys for joining us here this morning, and I'm sure more people will hop on as they receive the text message or, they remember it's ACIM time. We started with I posed a text question here today about anxiety, and I think it's a valid thing to talk about, and it's actually valid to have anxiety if you believe that you created yourself and that the world is, the what's it called, the experience of your world is dependent on really you being in charge, right? So we'll talk about that today, and then we'll go into chapter 8, section 2, um, and yeah, I'll start with a card that I just pulled. And it says, this is actually from Wisdoms from A Course in Miracles. So I was invited to pull one of these cards last week, so I decided that I'm going to do it now again. Of your ego, you can do nothing to save yourself or others. But of your spirit, you can do everything for salvation of both. Awesome. That actually leads me to, we left off last week with the first chapter that I'm writing in my book of the universal principles. And so I'll kind of just pull that up right now, and we'll finish that section off to start. Where did we leave off last week? So we left off at the universal principle, the principle of we talked about salvation. I think it was salvation, and then also I think the principle of free will. So salvation comes from the universal principle that is really to correct our perception in our mind of releasing our mind of the ego's hold over our perception of the world. Okay, so salvation really from the ego's perspective is I need things outside of me to be a certain way in order for me to have the peace, in order for me to have joy, in order for me to, relieve of myself of this anxiety that I carry with me. Salvation really is not about external redemptions, but rather about healing our mind from the belief in separation. So the Course says that all of our problems come down ultimately to the fact that we believe that we are separate. And so on some level, we're like, okay, yes, no, yes, we are all connected. But then on another, we're like, it's, my body is separate from yours. There's me, the identity of Alex, and then the identity of Eric. And so all of that, eventually the ego says, well, I'm a made up thing. So in order for me to be, in order for me to stay relevant or stay alive in your mind, I have to just distract you. So the ego is the ultimate distractor, let's call it, right? So we just find one thing after another, hoping that that's our release, that's our salvation. So the ego's model is really seek, but do not find, right? That's the ultimate game for the ego. Give you just enough happiness so that you can, it's like this like distraction or this rock in your shoe, right? Just enough pain that you're not going to go and seek the ultimate release. So as you really learn to release the ego's illusions, you return to a state of oneness or unity with God and to the world around you. So salvation then is really the process of undoing fear and reclaiming love. So that is, the entire teaching really of the Course is that you, and we left it off from the free will, from free will, is you ultimately only have a free will of looking and perceiving the world from the lenses of fear or from the lenses of love. Each one will give you a different experience. So then you actually have free will to choose or make a decision of the experience you want to have in this world based on how you perceive the world. So you actually have choice and control over that specific thing. Is that, okay, in this moment I'm choosing to step into seeing with love. Then from that space you see the world and you see people and you see every situation that you're in as love or just a call for love, the Course calls it, right? And so even if somebody is triggering you, or even if somebody is committing some kind of heinous crime, you can actually see that as this is a call for love. And it's not that they need love. It's actually that this call for love brings you the opportunity to experience love through compassion and understanding and kindness. See, you can choose your experience around things. Now, when we feel anxiety or when we feel fear or judgment, we can say, the Course says, and this is what I do all the time too, whenever I get into an argument with my wife or if I feel constricted, I say, God, show me a different way to look at this. And then I follow up by saying, I can choose to see peace instead of this. And I'll just keep going over and over and over again until that fear, that idea of whatever it is that I'm anxious about just leaves. Because it's really just a thought that comes. And the thought that comes, it creates this kind of feeling. But these feelings are really, and I say this all the time, they're thin. They're not there that long unless you give it the power. So then the Course says that, one of the universal laws we talked about is really that wherever you give your attention to, whatever you speak more into, you give it life, you give it strength, and you give it power. And it doesn't, and so you can choose which part of that you want to give power to. Oh, hold on. Um, and, the Course says that ultimately coming down to everything that has to do with fear, it comes down to the fact that we choose, we want to believe that we can be one of my brothers calls it, we can be the general managers of our own life. That's where all the fear comes down to, is that I don't think that the universe or God is going to take care of all these things for me, that I have to do it. Now, if you have to do that, of course, your fear and anxiety is justified. That you believe that the outcome of your life, somehow you have control over all these things. And so it comes down to faith. It comes down to trust that, do I believe that the universe is working everything for my good, for the collective good, right? And that everything is working for me rather than against me. That's your free will. That's the free will you have. You get to choose between those two lenses also. That's the same thing as fear and love. Does God have my back? That means if I really believed in that, then I can not have money right now and still be at peace. I can not have things turn out the way I want to and still have peace. The anxiety comes from the fact that I don't believe that it's going to work out the way it's supposed to for me. Right? That I believe the universe is not an organized, that doesn't have an organized principle of expansion of love. That somehow bad and evil could be a part of that. All right, so when that enters our mind, of course anxiety is going to show up. When I don't have faith, when I don't have trust that things are going to be taken care of, right? That ultimately good is going to come out of this. That's it. I mean, simply is the anxiety that comes up, and I think Daniel mentioned earlier about the elections, right? People have anxiety. I don't have confidence in the future to be good. That is why I would have anxiety. And so this is something that we get to practice. Oh, what is that? Hold on. My LinkedIn keeps having errors. Oh well. And so the last principle is, what did I write here? The last principle that I put on there is the law of the principle of joy. I think I am somebody that has pretty good access to joy. I try to have fun in everything that I do, and people that know me, I laugh at so many different things, because joy is our way of returning to our natural state. Joy is the recognition of the oneness with God and with everyone, which anxiety leaves, because I believe that we're all one, right? That everything happening is for the good of all of this, and that the universe and God is always expanding, and expansion is of love. Expansion is of love and joy. So we are in a natural state to extend. Does that make sense? Like when we are in joy, when we are in creativity, like we naturally extend creation, love, joy, and in that natural state, it reflects back to us the truth of who we really are and creates that connection to God again. And so I think that all of our problems really come down, yes, one, from the fact that we're separate, but also that we are disconnected from the truth. We are disconnected from God. When we are connected, when we trust that we are simply a vehicle, we are simply a vehicle for as much love and as much light to shine through us. And in that, we recognize that our purpose really is to discover who we are and how much capacity we have to handle the maximum amount of light and love. And when we realize and recognize that, those are miracle moments. See, a miracle is not something grand that gets to happen. A miracle is a simple shift in your mind from a place of contraction or a fear, anxiety to, oh, trust, right? Trust and the feeling of clarity, confidence. You know, confusion is of the ego, clarity is of, and confidence is of the Holy Spirit. So we can reverse engineer a lot of these things by simply looking at what's my experience right now? What is my experience around this person? What is my experience around this situation? And as I look at that, I can see, oh, then I must be choosing either fear or love. I must be choosing the ego or the Holy Spirit. Right? And sometimes I go through this anxiety, and my anxiety and confusion comes down to, okay, I need to make a positive impact. I want to create a positive impact in this world. And part of what my codes and my curriculum is in the private equity and the money and the funding space, right? So then I go into, oh, what is BlackRock doing wrong? And all the, the S&P 500 on Wall Street and all these big conglomerates out there. What are these things that they're doing in the world that I believe is not in alignment with the greatest good for humanity? Then all this stuff comes up. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. And they're bad and they're wrong. And that mistrust creates the anxiety in me and makes me feel like I have to do something. And that creates the conflict and challenging something that ultimately is just a perception of my mind. Then I'm like, okay, God, show me a different way to look at this. I obviously am experiencing something. And if I'm experiencing it, that means I must have chosen incorrectly. Course says you've chosen incorrectly. That's why you are having the triggers. That's why you are reacting to things. And since you chose incorrectly, here in this moment, today, we have an opportunity for the holy instant. The holy instant is this moment that I recognize, oh, I'm choosing incorrectly and I can choose again. So then choosing again for me looks like the same Holy Spirit that flows through me flows through all these guys that run BlackRock and all these guys that run these crazy companies that I think are doing something wrong. And then I realized, oh, we're all playing up the exact part that God wants us to play to return back home. For us all to remember. Oh, gotcha. So then I really need do nothing. And then peace comes back. I'm like, I'll do things if it's fun. And I don't need to do things because I think there's something wrong with the world. And so the Course also says the world does not need to change. BlackRock does not need to change. Nobody needs to change. Your perception about it needs to change. Your perception about your own identity needs to change. Because all that you have created about yourself is an idea to be let go of. That's how we return back to peace. Because ultimately, also, our anxiety and fear comes from somehow that this identity will be threatened and that it will die, right? All of us know on the physical body level, everything that we have and everyone we know will someday die, someday leave this form. So if we think about it from that perspective, then yeah, tons of anxiety, right? The whole existence of us, like, why the heck are we even here? What are we doing? Now, all of our fears comes down to fear of death. But if you can transcend your body and the idea and the image of who you are, that I am this body, and I do A Course in Miracles, and I do real estate, and I all the things that we've attached to this of who I am. Of letting this idea go so that you can't be triggered also, right? Last night I was at this meetup, and I'm going to get to you in a second, Claudia. I was at this meetup, and this guy was trashed, wasted. And he was just all touchy and physical with me for some reason. You know, and he's like, I'm a gangster. And an older version of myself would have took him outside and kicked the crap out of him. Okay, but I didn't. I was like, okay, I'm let's A Course in Miracles, all this stuff. So just respond with love, And he's like, I don't care if you don't like me, and he just like, people were trying to get him off, like, the people that ran the event, because he was a sponsor. And he just got super wasted. And I was like, okay. So I had many moments of returning back to love. Yes. So anyways, Claudia, go ahead. Please do share.
Ooh, good morning.
Good morning.
So I get to say one celebration from this weekend. I had an amazing weekend with Women's Conference here on Palm Beach Gardens, and actually our second home, Alex from Gratitude Time. So it was amazing. It was the amount of people that it was that I envisioned didn't show up, but the perfect amount of people that needed to show up, they show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very beautiful. Energy was amazing. All the sisters that were supporting, like my two big communities at the moment, they were there. So it was amazing. And as I shared last week, the part of this energy that I utilized for this was the process that I've been going with my daughter, right? Talking about the politicians. So how uncomfortable it is to, keep going in your life and your teenager doesn't speak to you, blocks you, and is doing, of course, in my program, she's doing a lot of crazy making decisions for herself, right? So yesterday, her dad, we had a couple of conversations because she's mad. She's mad at him now because he's not letting her go to herself for Horror Nights in Orlando, and she disappeared the whole day. My mom went to pick her up. She didn't show up. She hid. It was like, and she's upset. She's making us know that she's really upset about no letting her go with her friend. And so here it's like, of course, I have the anxiety all day, like where she is. Should I show up in the school? Should I call the police? And their father was like, hold on. Like he was keeping me like calm, right? And I keep like increasing that anxiety until go to a point that I say, just text her and ask her if she's okay. Because at the end of the day, only want to know is like she's fine. And she respond to him finally and say, and this was like almost 5:00 in the afternoon, and she gets out of school at 2:00, and she finally responded she's fine. So he finally saw her that she was getting to the house at 10:00 at night. So this girl going all over the place in town, and it was a little disturbing for us. And at the end of the day, I told Michael, their dad, you know what? All in my human capacity have done what I feel that I needed to do with her. At this point, she's another child of creation, and her highest self know what she's doing. So I'm just gonna give all the surrender, and I'm gonna give her a lot of love and send her that she can, get to that space where her highest self is going to, support her and love her. We're still gonna be here, of course. Mm-hmm. But it gets really tricky when it's your child, and it's by the programs, you're responsible of them, right? And in a system that it can be really tricky as well. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for always sharing what's real for you and your daughter, because, I don't have kids yet, but I remember when I was a rebellious kid, and I didn't feel supported, or I didn't feel, that it was safe enough for me to share things with my mom or my family. And I would, go out and actually create a whole bunch of drama too, and I didn't know, I wasn't self-aware enough of what's going on, but that I was just kind of playing the victim. So, but I think you have an opportunity every time these things show up to really go much deeper with your daughter about how you feel, right? Like she can understand, if you really truly share, not from a place of like control or you're a victim, but really like, I'm doing my best here, and you get to share your journey, and through your journey, perhaps it can create a connection with her that feels safe, not only for her, but for you. Creates safety, because really it's all about creating safety in relationships, right? And so, hey, this is how I'm a mother, right? And I love you, and I will be here for you no matter what you need, and I want what's best for you. See, it's the same thing that we have with our relationship with God. It's like, can God just tell us, you're going to be fine? You're safe. The world is safe. And so the next closest level of love is the mother's love, right? And if she doesn't experience that, she feels like she's on her own in this world, that she cannot trust, then she will act out like that. We're literally no different than how she's behaving. All of us, sometimes the way we behave is no different than the way that she's behaving right now. And so I think you have an opportunity to, when you're very grounded, to talk not from a place of I need to educate you, but like, I'm a human being with you, right? Like, let's level it out so she can feel safe to share with you. Like she's like you're one of her friends, right? I love when I hear from people, from kids, they're like, oh, my mom is my best friend. My dad is my best friend, right? It's just like, that's awesome. I didn't really have that experience growing up, but there's a possibility for that to be in the realm of all possibilities for you, Claudia. And I feel like some part of you gets to let go and trust and step into that conversation. Because these things happening, they're all opportunities to heal, for her and for you. Yes,
Yeah.
she is your
So
daughter. Go ahead.
Alex has been like, she has been my best friend. I have been her best friend, and it's not only about that. It's get to a point that you get to be a mom in a certain point in their life. It's like, yes, and I'm your best friend and I'm your mom as well. And it's not at the point of controlling. And it's not the point, like all those suggestions that you just add in there, they're being spoken to her. But she's not receiving it because, I don't know, it's the hormones, the chemicals that they're running into, the influences that they have out there. I don't know what it is. Like you say, it's a lot of victimization, and I'm the victim area that she's running. And I just, it's like, and we're here. It's like, her dad has been nothing but loving to her. Like, she has everything that she asked for, okay? Except the freedom that she wants to go to another country with some other random people that we don't even know who they are. It's like, you're, as a father, as a parent, you're not gonna let them do that. Because this is too much responsibility. Not only to let her go, but to the people that you're letting her go with. To put that responsibility in other parents.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you don't know who they are, what the habits that they have and everything. So it's like, it's a little fine line in there when you are a parent. And it'll be experienced in a way or another way, in a point. But what I'm saying here is, like, all those suggestions, they're all being there. I've been letting go. Like, she hasn't been with me since March. So it's been a while. She hasn't talked to me since June. That's been a while. So I only was surrendered by God. That's the only thing that I can say.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, prayers for your peace and for her peace. And, all things will work out as it should. And so just like you were saying about your conference too, right? Like, how much stress and anxiety was there leading up to the conference, right? There must have been so much. Yeah, only to come to the conference and realize, oh my God, it was so perfect. Like, had we known in those moments before that everything was going to be fine and so perfect, why would we have stressed? Right? And that is literally the same, like, thing that's playing out in our lives over and over and over again. I'm going to just share one last story with my wife. So growing up, she was kind of being controlled by her dad and her mom and all of that. And every opportunity she had, she would lash out and do something just to get them back, just to piss them off, because there was this control. And the moment she turned 18, or the moment she had the opportunity, she left Canada and went backpacking in Central America and in Mexico, walking. So at some point you won't have control anymore. Right? And so yes, it's scary, but I'm saying there's an opportunity, a new opportunity. Yes, you think things have been done. You've done a lot of things in the past that is, what you feel is loving and being a best friend. But this new moment is a new moment. Nothing in the past actually should be brought to this moment of new possibilities. So here's another chance, another opportunity to say, hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Can we have a conversation, right? And yes, you can be, I'm in trust and I'm okay with her not talking to me, but really, is that true? Right? What if something happened to her tomorrow? Will this whole 3 months or 5 months been okay for you? Right? And so, like, to truly let that go is to step into this new opportunity that's been granted to you, to be even more loving, to create this relationship of trust. So, yeah, just my thoughts. But I trust completely. You're in the work, and yeah, just sending lots of love to you and your daughter's relationship. I'm gonna, and before we go into any other shares, I just want to kind of have Marianne Williamson share her thoughts from a year of miracles. From day 152, I flipped open. I just thought this was I like the title of this, which is "What I Appreciate Appreciates." Today, I appreciate all the blessings in my life. I do not take for granted all the wonderful things I have. I feel my gratitude with a humble heart. I appreciate my abundance. I know that as I do so, my abundance will appreciate. May all that I have be used by God to bless others as it blesses me. I am reminded of those who live lives of pain and pray to be useful to heal their suffering. Dear God, today I give thanks for all I have. All that is, I surrender to you, and pray it be used for a greater good. And so it is. Amen. And I think that's the key right there. All that I have, all that I hold, I surrender to you. That's the way out of anxiety, out of fear, out of the conflicts that we've created. I surrender it all to you. That I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's in my own best interest. But if I surrender it to you, I can at least have peace in this moment. So yeah. Anybody else want to share anything? What's alive for anybody here? Is anybody having challenges or anything that we can, use the course to shift our perceptions and have miracles with? Or we can read the chapter. The chapter is great. This is amazing. I love this chapter. It's called The Journey Back. And the section we're on is section 3, Holy Encounter. Yeah, Kayla.
Hi again. I've been sitting with what you mentioned on the last call, about what I shared with you and about my pain in my neck and shoulder. And so I'm curious about what you just said, which is to like surrender that to the Holy Spirit. How how do you like go about that when it's something that's like physical and chronic over years that just that how do you what is your advice for like surrendering that type of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I shared with you last week too that like I had this car accident in May, and I have, 6 bulging discs, with MRI and everything. And I was in this constant pain. I had the shoulder pain, and I kept going to get physical therapy and all that stuff. And not sure at what point did I let go of that, but there was definitely a mental shift that happened. I actually sat down and did a Reiki session with Claudia here. Claudia, who's going to put her camera on in a second, I'm sure. But she did a Reiki session on my neck. And during that time, I was actually laying out the chapters of my book. And she was doing Reiki on me. And then afterwards, my neck stopped hurting. And it hasn't hurt since then. So it is possible. Something was given up. Something was surrendered to God. I don't know where to pinpoint exactly where. But there is a way that you give up your pain, whatever that looks like. And you just ask and you pray for it. I don't know how it'll be done for you. I don't know, what, where you're at in that space. But prayers, I think, will be a good start. Like, show me a different way to have a relationship with this pain in my neck. Because the more that we say we are not healed, the more we say that there's a problem, and and the stories that led up to it, making all of that super real, makes this pain super real, right? And I don't have like a answer for that, because the more, if we make it real, right, the stories are, and it's not like, oh, everyone can just give it up. Everyone's at a different state, right? Kind of wherever, how prepared or how ready you are. When you are in a space of anything that is energetic frequency of fear, it is hard for us to step into, oh, yeah, I can be healed just through thought. I can be healed through giving it up. But one, you have to believe that all of your cells and all of your body follows your thoughts, right? That thought creates and dictates what your cells are doing. If you don't believe that, then you're going to have to kind of create what the Course says, magic. You're going to have to give healing powers, temporary healing powers, to things of this world, so that you may be in a space of a little less fear, so you can possibly step into that. Right? So the Course calls that magic, which is fine. It serves its purpose. Some people have cancer and they have to get chemo to be less fearful, because they believe that it's going to heal them. Some people can be like, nope, I don't believe that at all, and go drink some ayahuasca in the jungle, and cancer's also healed. Right? And some people can just be so not in a place of fear and be in meditation that it just dissipates, right? Like, how many times have we heard miracle stories where doctors have no idea where these things go? They're like, you had 6 months to live, and now we don't see a trace of it. Like, we hear those stories all the time. I think what we need to do is collect more of those types of stories so that we can believe more, right? And this is just one form of the anxieties that we hold. One is physical pain, then it's our anxiety around finances, then it's our anxiety around relationships, and how many, it's just all different forms of the same thing. So I would pray more about it. Show me a different way to look at this. Give me a different experience, right? Not like you have to do something. Like, let's try to give it over to God. So that's kind of I don't know, what I got for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's interesting because like I've been I study a lot of things in that realm, like quantum healing and like Joe Dispenza, for example. Right now, I'm actually in a tantric yoga philosophy immersion, and just learning all about the like where we put our identity. For example, like putting like your identity with the body, with the thoughts, the emotions, or with the expanded pure awareness, consciousness, self, and um, all of with all of that being said, like it's it's just I don't know, it's just hard because it's like I just woke up and my arm is just like radiating with pain from this nerve, from this pinched nerve in my neck, and it's like the first thing that I'm like starting my day with. And I yeah, like I meditate and I do all the practices, and I will admit, like sometimes I have relief and I'm like, wow, like I feel great, I feel like my expanded, elevated, like highest self. And then yeah, like I don't know what brings me back into this like body identification, or what to do in those moments where it just like takes over, and just yeah. But sounds like more prayer is what you're offering, and
Order this book, and Josie's about to share, but order this book. This is the last thing I'm going to share, is from one of my friends, Clint, Dr. Clint Rogers, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. Okay, so order that book, get that book. There are some things in there that people have literally said just by having the book changed their experiences. And I've seen him literally like heal people in front of me. 5 minutes. And Love was one of them. We were at the Burning Man camp, and she's got this level 7 pain in her neck for like months and months and months. And in 5 minutes, the pain was gone. And so, I don't know, maybe check it out. But just know that like also like all modalities like lead to God, okay, ultimately. But the devotion to one will like, what you'll learn through one path will be much better than trying to learn through. Actually, I don't know if it's much better, but you know, all paths lead to it. So see if you can find something in any of the modalities that you're doing that leads you to more trust and more clarity about like not physical body, but more in the spiritual space. Go ahead, Josie. Sorry.
No apologies necessary. Um, yeah, well, I have to thank Eric for inviting me this morning, and seems like the most perfect topic. Um, I, I'm currently in the, well, no, I'm not in currently. I've been uh, going through a divorce, and I'm happy to say that I experienced what you talked about. Is that this is a new choice right now, because there was moments of just great pain and great frustration and anger and sadness and anxiety, and everything shifted. My entire world turned upside down like an upside pineapple cake, And, you know, what I realized is during that time, there were things that we had to handle together in order to make this a seamless transition. And of course, my patience wasn't around because my emotions were heightened. My patience wasn't present. The anxiety was, my compassion was out the door because my anger was driving force. There were many conflicting emotions that were separate from how, you know, I experience myself, or how my practice uh, supports my life experience. And I've been, going to church and doing all kinds of things, to reconnect with spirituality. So I'm really happy to be here. I want you to know that. It's I think that the theme has been divine timing, which is what my friend keeps reminding me. And in the beginning, when I had more emotion around the subject, I would start to tell a story, and she would be like, Josie, everything, divine timing. So there was no need to put myself through anxiety, choose that anxiety in that moment, that experience, right? Uh, in that time, I really didn't need that extra, that extra anxiety, but it paralyzed me, I was frozen, stood still, and I was mad and frozen. So it was like a terrible, it's like a terrible combination. But I'm happy to say that even with the the uh, present challenges that still remain in the space, even with that, I definitely have shifted, and it's been a part of that stepping stepping into the observer of myself, the removing myself from this meat sack that I live in, and connecting to, the I would say the connected spiritual being that I am, right? And I can see when this has been a crash course, and I wish that's why I went and picked up the Course of Miracles again, because I was like, where's my coffee? And so this is fantastic. And again, now, even still, the challenges remain. I mean, they're challenges. It's like having someone stepping on my neck right now, but I'm not experiencing it as anyone stepping on my neck right now. I don't experience it as me hanging right now. And in the past, and that's how I know there's been a huge shift. In the past, I would implode. You know what I mean? This could really debilitate me. But like you said, making those choices to, if you have cancer and you go and you get chemo, it's so that that you can basically feel safe. You're feeling safe. So what I've been doing is I've just been doing what I need to do to keep my head straight. And uh, should have added this a long time ago, but I talked to a therapist. There was a time I was talking to a therapist 3 times a week. It was like that intense,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm like 2-1, 2-1, so progress is being made. But there were a lot of emotions, and in that I recognized like the places, those trigger spots, and this has been some real soul searching. So I appreciate your message this morning, Alex, and I appreciate you sharing, because came at divine timing, my friend.
Yes, and you being here, adding this to it, it creates a new conversation, new energy in this call, and it's always so perfect. The people that are here and what we bring to it, even if you're not sharing, like your presence matters in the safety that is created around this call, and also like for you guys that are sharing, especially vulnerably about things like Claudia sharing about her relationship with her kid, and you sharing about your divorce. Like this is how we are expanding safety out into the rest of the world. And I am streaming live also. There are people being healed from our conversations. So know the power of you just being here and attending here today and sharing our lives, right? These things happening to us, they feel so real, and we forget who we are, and we're willing to just like implode, like you said, right? Sometimes when we lose certain things or we're in a really tough position, those are the times where we feel the deepest, and we have the greatest opportunity to like overcome something and have miracles happen. Lessons of remembering. The forgetting is strengthening the remembering. The forgetting is serving something. The breakup, the loss of money, the neck pains, all the things is serving something, is serving for you to remember. And the moment that you recognize that, you will have moments of peace. then you're going to forget again and lose your shit because, you feel like things are leaving you, and you've placed so much value and importance into something, and then now it's gone. Right? And so like I remember when Love and I were going through like a really big challenge in April, and how much I felt like my heart was being like ripped out of my chest. And I'm like, and then there were moments I'm like, I'm good. I want the best for both of us. And I think I can just be, right? And be good right now. Trusting. I can trust. And then there will be moments I just lose it again. Right? So like we all will go through these things, but what is it for? The Course always says, what is it for? You can be caught up in the mess, or you can kind of step back and say, what is this for? And really probably everything, what is it for, is for you to trust. Is God saying, here's an opportunity for you either to be lost in these things and not trusting me, or you have an opportunity to be in your fears and your emotions and then access trust. A level of connection. You're creating a connection in that moment that can last you for the rest of your life. Because you see that connection, right? You're actually like living it. When things are good and we're relaxing and we're chilling on the couch and we get all soft and weak, like, it's just, then we just forget. Like, yeah, everything's good. We're not even thinking about the connection to God. We're just like, oh, great, thank you. But when things are tough, that is when we have the chance to be like, all right, let me deepen my compassion for myself. Let me step into this connection that I've lost, right? Because things were so good. Things were just fine. Actually, it wasn't even so good. It was just fine. I'm content. I'm just like, yeah, I'm good with this right now. Right? We're not being challenged. So we're being challenged every time that we've gotten too comfortable, that we're disconnecting. As we're disconnecting from this frequency of love from God, things will happen to be like, here's your chance to do so again. Here's your chance to share vulnerably with your peoples. Here's your chance to connect and be one with your brothers and your sisters. Because when those things happen, what we want to do is we just want to isolate. Right? We want to disconnect even more. The ego says more. More disconnection, more separation. That's the way that the illusion stays real. And God and the Holy Spirit's like, look, we're magnifying for you that this illusion is not real. Right? That you can choose something else and you can become greater. You can recognize your capacity to handle all this pain and to get through it. And then what is it for? I don't know. Maybe someone else is going through something similar, and now you become the only voice that the Holy Spirit can use to save and heal this person. So whenever we can bring our minds back to taking our challenges to serving something, right? One of the chapters I'm writing in my book is about service. Service is our way to remember. And when we realize that all the stuff that we're going through, there holds a greater purpose to it, then we find peace and clarity. And we actually feel empowered. Through our pain, we can feel more empowered and more inspired. That is a possibility. Or we can just sit on the couch and we can just feel sorry for ourselves the entire time, which is nothing wrong either, because you're meant to go through that. Right? So in the all divine timing, but there will be a moment that you'll be tired of and you'll be done. So you're going through your pains, you're going through your challenges. There will be a moment that it's going to be over. You can trust in that, or you can give it over. So here is that free will again. We started with the free will. Your choice is to be in this shit, right, that you're in, or is to say, okay, I know I'm in it. I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I can experience it, but also I have a deep sense of trust. Right? I have a deep sense of trust that this all serves a greater purpose, and I'm going to see it soon. I'm about to wake up. I'm about to be awakened. Like that, we can experience the pain and at the same time feel so hopeful and so inspired. That's what's possible in those moments. And I've had many of those. Like I've had challenging 2 years, but also the most growth and the most expansion at the same time. We live, and I've been sharing this, we live in a world where the greatest possibility is waiting for us, is here right now. We can feel the most inspired, most abundant, and at the same exact time, this same experience of this planet is scary and scarce, and we need control, and it's the most destructive time, the most creative time, and the most destructive time happening at the same time. And there's your free will. That's the only free will you have. You don't have free will to determine the curriculum. You don't have free will to determine the will of God, but you have free will to align your will to God's will. That's the free will you have. And that will give you the experience of peace or anxiety. That's it. So that's the free will you have. Sometimes people are like, oh, well, what about free will? Well, free will doesn't mean that you choose and determine the curriculum. Free will is, the introduction to the course. Free will gives you is you how much you're willing to take in at any given time. That's it. How much alignment will you step into? You don't determine the curriculum with your free will. So, oh crap, we're about to not have chapter 8 again. So, anyone want to anything alive for anybody? Anybody want to share anything right now? Actually, we have plenty of time. What am I saying?
I'd love to share.
Yeah, please, brother.
So this morning I got up at 5 and I had a discussion with my roommate yesterday about cleaning the kitchen up after himself.
Oh boy.
I lost it. I got up this morning and there's a pile of dishes in both sinks, on the stove, everywhere. I was just like, what the F? And then it gave me the opportunity to take a breath and go, it's okay. It's a blessing. It's an opportunity to learn patience. It's an opportunity to be in service. So I moved them all to one sink and I said, okay, I'll get to them in a minute. And actually, he ended up getting up and cleaning all the dishes and putting the dishes away from the dishwasher. And I was like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to do it, but I would have. But it gave me the opportunity to see this reaction that I had to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super particular about my house being clean, especially in the kitchen. It needs to be spotless all the time. I don't know why. But it gives me this new experience to be like, it's going to be okay.
Uh-huh. There's a saying in the course, infinite patience produce immediate peace, right? Produce immediate effects. So a part of us, when someone doesn't do something, like you just had the conversation last night, right? And you're like, all right, I expect it to be this way. And he's probably like, oh man, I just had this conversation, but I'm so tired, or I'm whatever. I'm going to get to it first thing in the morning. And you just happen to get to it before him, and then you lose your shit. Now, if you attack him, he needs to defend, right? And then now this dish thing becomes a real battle, right? Because he was like, shit, I was going to do it, but you know what? Fuck this. You're too controlling. Whatever else is going to come up. But since you stepped into this piece, you allowed a new possibility of him. You trusted, right? The space was, I trust that my annoyance, he knows already. I don't need to say anything, right? We just had a conversation last night. So I'm going to be peace. And if I bring love and compassion to this space, it's just going to get done, trusting that he's going to do it, right? And maybe he doesn't even do it that day. Maybe something else comes up. He's like, oh, fuck. Right, but people know the energy is there. You don't need to speak for those things to happen. So it comes down to your patience, right? The lesson is in patience. And trust and patience is the same thing. Faith and patience is the same thing. It's when I lose my patience, I don't trust that they're going to handle it. I don't trust they're going to do the right thing. That means you're also saying, I don't trust that God exists in you that exists in me. Mm. So this is our problem. Our problem is that trust is gone and I get to be general manager of my life. And I will now take over. So it comes down to this, the Course says, the usurping of God from the throne. That's our problem, right? And I say, I laugh at myself all the time when I say this is our only problem, because I say this is our only problem, and it turns into our only problem is separation. Our only problem is our disconnection to God. Our only problem is us wanting to be general manager. But you know what? They're actually all the same thing, right? They're all really the same exact thing. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's real for me too. And my wife always like, can you just put the shoes downstairs? And I come back from the gym or we play pickleball and I'm so tired. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave my shoes right here. She'll be pissed, but I know I'm going to wake up before her anyways. And guess what? The one day that I leave my shoe there, she wakes up before me. Never happens. But somehow she does. So I get it. All right, cool. What else? Hey, Jill.
Hey, Alex. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I love these calls. So I became the president of my neighborhood association for one reason only, and that was because there was a development going in up the street. It's the last mango farm in Lake Worth Beach, and it's the last tiny little piece of property that is nature. Yes, we live on this big lake right here, and we have, hundreds of acres right here of John Quince Park, but this is something special. It's on the top of the ridge, and there are 2 old farmhouses on it. So anyway, I put a lot of effort and spent my own money to get some plans drawn up utilizing my technology of ecotecture, and then sort of dropped it for a while because but I knew the developer. I had met him, and he's planning to put in 41 townhouses, and it's like a heartache, and to see this last piece of property go. And so I called a lawyer on behalf of the neighborhood, and have done a lot of groundwork, laid a lot of groundwork, and then kind of let it go. But knowing in the background that this dude, this developer, is on the march. He's going to get this thing. He let me know. We've had lunch together, and had a lot of conversations. And he basically let me know when our group showed up in mass at City Commission, and we got the Planning and Zoning Board to veto it. He was coming back with a plan, and we've all known this. So that's sort of coming up now, and it's troubling. But prior to the meeting yesterday, the board meeting we had yesterday, I was thinking, there's nothing I can do about this. I'm not having any fun anymore. This is no fun. I was thinking, I had tried to resign in June. I'm not having fun. I'm going to resign, and they prevailed, so I stayed. But in the back of my mind, I'm still going, this isn't, I only want to do things that are fun. And I'm not having fun anymore, and this dude is going to win. I had this negative thought.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the meeting, and I went to the meeting, and I didn't say anything, and I wasn't really feeling that at the time. We're just doing the meeting. And we ended up calling the attorney, and it's really hard to get attorneys on the phone. And we 4 were all there, and he literally answered the phone and spent maybe a half an hour with us for no charge, and told us what to do. And he basically told me that what I had done with my plan was the way to go. And it sort of was like, oh my God, it sort of shocked me. And it was kind of this lesson in really not listening to that negative thing, and also just kind of going with it, but also letting go, because I had sort of let go of that thing. It was just in a pile of papers, and I had the notebook with me. But when I said, well, I've done a plan for 7 homes, and he said, that's the way to go. That's how you're going to win this case, basically. And so I got all the work done, and so now I've got work to do. But it was just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thanks. I know you've been kind of stressed out about that whole thing too. So, again, it's this trusting, right? We never even needed to stress in the first place. And constantly life is just showing us, okay, are you gonna do it again? Are you just you gonna lose your piece again? And maybe it's one form, it's here, and then it's another form, and so we're just constantly learning this game, so we can actually change our relationships to these like triggers, which is kind of cool. Also, I love that every time I see you, you place your head perfectly in that painting where it's it's great.
Yeah, it was accidental, so to speak, at first, that my computer was set up in front of it. But then when I realized that my computer was set up in front of it, I always am sort of jiggling to try and get. I'm actually planning to drop it another 4 inches so that they'll really be my wings. But it's a concrete wall. I gotta wait for someone with a concrete build.
You can also lower the position of the camera, maybe, and it will be that.
Yeah, not really, but yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Anyways, that's funny.
So we actually your name came up because Amy is the treasurer is the vice president, and so your name came up yesterday about contacting you about the project too. So that's
okay, cool. I guess I'm meant to be contacted for it. Awesome.
Evidently.
All right, awesome. Anybody else before we start the read? It's a short read, but it's a great section. Okay, so we're going to go into Chapter 8, Section 3. We do one section every single call. The invitation, I always say this, I want to lead it, is to listen from a place, not from like I need to understand something, but to listen from a place of surrender. Right? A place of surrender, meaning I let go of what I think I know about anything. Every time I read the course, I have to do that too. I'm like, wait, I know some of these things about the course. I read this last time. This was my experience. Like, nope, taking all of that and shoving it. So I have no idea what I'm going to get out of this section. So, sometimes it's hard to understand because we're like listening from the ego, because the moment we listen from the ego, anything you read in the course doesn't make any sense. This is how diametrically opposite the teachings of the course is. The moment you read it or try to listen to it from a place of the ego, it will start to go over your head. It will go in one ear and out the other, and then you will check out and tune out. But also know that checking out and tuning out, the frequency of the reading is still happening. So you can tune in and tap back in anytime to that. The thoughts that are coming in my head, the thoughts that are coming right now in my mind, it's still the frequency of the reading. So simply surrender and allow as we read, and let the words behind the words, the frequency of what has been, the journey of this chapter, this section being written, to flow to you and touch you. All right. So section 3, the holy encounter. Glory to God in the highest, and to you, because he has so willed it. Ask and it shall be given you, because it has already been given. Ask for light and learn that you are light. If you want understanding and enlightenment, you will learn it because of your decision to learn it, and it is the decision to listen to the teacher who knows the light and can therefore teach it to you. There is no limit on your learning because there is no limit on your mind. There is no limit on his teachings because he was created to teach. Understanding his function perfectly, he fulfills it perfectly because that is his joy and yours. To fulfill the will of God perfectly is the only joy and peace that can be fully known, because it is the only function that can be fully experienced. Hey, you know what's really interesting? To fulfill the will of God perfectly is the only joy and peace that can be fully known. I don't know, maybe it's my perception, but the words actually seem smaller than the other words below it. I don't know if anybody has the book open. Is it just me? Because it is the only function that can be fully experienced. When this is accomplished, then there is no other experience. Yet the wish for other experience will block its accomplishment, because God's will cannot be forced upon you, being an experience of total willingness. It is page 141, The Holy Encounter, paragraph 2. The first line seems like it's almost different font and smaller than the other words. I don't know why. Okay, anyways, continuing. The Holy Spirit understands how to teach you this, but you do not. That is why you need him and why God gave him to you. Only his teaching will release you from the will of release your will to God's, uniting it with his power and glory and establishing them as yours. You share them as God shares them, because this is the natural outcome of their being. So this section right now is talking about aligning our will with the will of God, and that it is his will that you guys are that you are aligned. And so the Holy Spirit exists in you to remind you constantly. But the Spirit comes from invitation, not from time or any of that, but from invitation. The moment you will invite, just like if you're in your pain and your sufferings, the moment you invite Spirit to come, he will come. The will of the Father and the Son are one by their extension. Their extension is the result of their oneness, holding their unity together by extending their joint will. This is perfect creation by the perfectly created, in union with the perfect Creator. The Father must give fatherhood to his Son, because his own fatherhood must be extended outwards. You who belong in God have the holy function of extending his fatherhood by placing no limits upon it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you how to do this, for you can know what it means only of God himself. For you can know what it means only of God himself. When you meet anyone, remember that it is a holy encounter. As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose yourself. Whenever two sons of God meet, they are given another chance at salvation. Do not leave anyone without giving salvation to him and receiving it yourself, for I am always there with you in remembrance of you. The goal of the curriculum, regardless of the teacher you choose, is know thyself. There is nothing else to seek. Everyone is looking for himself for the power and glory he thinks he has lost. Whenever you are with anyone, you have another opportunity to find them. Your power and glory are in him because they are yours. The ego tries to find them in yourself alone because it does not know where to look. The Holy Spirit teaches you that if you look only at yourself, you cannot find yourself because it is not where you are. Whenever you are with a brother, you are learning that you are because you are teaching what you are. He will respond either with pain or with joy, depending on which teacher you are following. Oof, that's a good one right there, right? So same thing as what Fraser was saying earlier. You will, where was that? He will respond either with pain or with joy, depending on which teacher you are following. He will be imprisoned or released according to your decision, and so will you. Never forget your responsibility to him, because it is your responsibility to yourself. Give him his place in the kingdom, and you will have yours. A huge part of the course, every time the course teaches us that to find our peace, to find our own light, we must see others. Right? See the Christ consciousness in others in order to see it in ourselves. Free others of their limitations in your mind in order for you to free yourself. Because we are all connected in that oneness. That healing happens together. That I can actually heal the world for the world. I can heal other people by seeing the perfection in them. By seeing that there was never anything wrong. By seeing there was nothing to fix. That requires me to release my own judgment and my own fears around it. The kingdom cannot be found alone, and you who are in the kingdom cannot find yourself alone. To achieve the goal of the curriculum, then, you cannot listen to the ego, whose purpose is to defeat its own goal. The ego does not know this because it does not know anything. Remember, last section we talked about the ego is the master of confusion because the ego doesn't know anything. But you can know it, and you will know it if you're willing to look at what the ego would make of you. This is your responsibility, because once you have really looked at it, you will accept the atonement for yourself. What other choice could you make? Having made this choice, you will understand why you once believed that. When you met someone else, you thought he was someone else. And every holy encounter in which you enter fully will teach you this is not so. You can encounter only part of yourself because you are part of God, who is everything. His power and glory are everywhere, and you cannot be excluded from them. The ego teaches that your strength is in you alone. The ego teaches you that your strength is in you alone. The Holy Spirit teaches you that all strength is in God and therefore in you. God wills no one suffer. He does not will anyone suffer for a wrong decision, including you. That is why he has given you the means for undoing it. Through his power and glory, all your wrong decisions are undone completely, releasing you and your brother from every imprisoning thought any part of the sonship holds. Wrong decisions have no power because they are not true. The imprisonment they seem to produce is no more true than they are. Power and glory belong to God alone, and so do you. God gives whatever belongs to him because he gives of himself, and everything belongs to him. Giving of yourself is the function he gave you. Fulfilling it perfectly will let you remember what you have of him, and by this you will remember also what you are in him. You cannot be powerless to do this, because this is your power. Glory is God's gift to you, because that is what he is. See this glory everywhere, and remember what you are. The Course is always telling you that you and God are one, because you are the thought, you are the extension of God. All his glory is yours. All his power to create is yours. And you have the choice to be able to do so. The ego says all power and all glory is you, that the strength comes from you. And that's what creates all the anxiety and all the problems for us. When we recognize that I do have all the power, I am limitless, but that is because God is limitless and we are connected. And in that, whenever we run into any problems, then we recognize that God is of that too, and it's not really a problem, and I don't need to stress. This need not be. I need do nothing. Right? And the moment we can connect back, and this is what I feel like the point of this call that we go on here twice a week is so that we help each other remember that even if it's for a moment on this call, we can spend 1 hour, 29 minutes of complete confusion of what the heck is happening, or what am I talking about? What am I listening to? Because the ego is listening. But maybe 1 minute, we have that moment that we're like, oh, that made sense. And that's all we need. All we need is a moment of remembering. And everything becomes clear for a moment. And we can remember that. And then we're like, okay, well, let me come back. Let me do this again. Right? Let me do this again so that I can have an extended period of that. And then we extend it more and more. And when things come up, we actually have different relationships to what we were once triggered by. That's the goal. The goal is, can we sit and just be? And recognize that bliss and peace and eternity belongs to us. And then in this 3D world, can I be more kind? Can I be more loving? Can I be more understanding, not just for others, but also for myself? Can I trust in others and in me again? Right? Because so much of our worries comes from our inability to trust. We don't trust God, so in turn, we don't trust those around us. And of course, if that's real in our mind, we projected it back out. We project it back out to create the evidence of that in the world we experience. And so we actually are the ones causing the conflicts with others by saying, hey, the dishes, can we clean the dishes? And the very next day, giving you the opportunity to fight and attack them. Right? We pre-frame that for ourselves. Because we're like, okay, it's time for a little conflict in my life. The ego's like, I don't feel like I'm being heard. Let's go. You know, and the more that we're just in the unconscious, if we're not aware of what's going on, every time we are unconscious, when we get comfortable, that's when the ego sneaks in. The ego's like, he's not paying attention right now. She's not paying attention right now. And I'll just create a little conflict right here. And then we become the victim of outside of us. We become the victim of others. And it need not be. We just step back into consciousness, step back into awareness. And so I feel like, you know, for me, these calls are so important. We've been doing this for like freaking 5.5 years, 6 years. It blows my mind that I've been hosting these calls for that long. I'm like, have I done anything in my life that consistent? And the course actually has taught me to be patient. By doing it for such a long period of time, I've become more patient and disciplined and consistent in the way that I show up. Like, I didn't even know maybe that was the teaching for me. And I never even actually said this until this moment right now. Like, I'm having awarenesses around it. Some people are like, how are you just so disciplined with it? How do you do so many Zoom calls and it doesn't even feel like you're fazed by them? You know, people do like one Zoom call a week and are like, this is the most exhausting thing in my life. I'm like, do it for 6 years. Maybe you'll change your mind about it. You know, just chop wood, carry water. And when you're done, do it some more. And then do it some more. Until it no longer becomes it doesn't even drain any energy from you. You know, waking up at 6 a.m. for me. Like, I went from doing it at 10 a.m. in the East Coast and I moved to the West Coast. I'm like, yeah, I'm not changing the time. I'm just going to get up earlier. And Love always asks me, like, how the heck do you just like wake up so early every single day and do these things? I'm like, I don't really know how it came here, but I think right now I'm having an idea of how this all came about. So Course in Miracles has, you know, just provided me with everything I need. We got 5 to 7 minutes. I know we're going, you know, pretty long, but anybody else have anything they want to share? Close us out, bring us in a direction. What's alive for you guys?
One little joke that I want to throw in here.
Yes.
So, with all this about my daughter, it was a joke some in the media, I don't know where, but it says, do you want to know how God feels about us when we're denying him over and over and over and over? I'm going to create adolescents, I'm going to create teenagers, and you'll feel the same way.
Yeah. You know what's super interesting, and I see this a lot, is when I watch people, like, I'm at an age where I've watched people grow up from when they're young. I always say this, I'm like, dude, it's so weird. I'm at an age where I watch NBA players come in as a rookie and now retiring. I'm like, crap, I've been watching somebody play basketball for 20 years. And then watching kids grow up from like a young age to wherever they are now. And then having opinions about politics and all these things. I'm like, what happened? Weren't you like 5 years old yesterday? You know, and not worried about all this stuff. And now there's like such heavy opinions about politics. I'm like, whoa. So it's super interesting to watch all of us grow up. Now, can we undo all of these things, right? That's now that we get to a point of awareness and consciousness, can we undo all the things we carried on like they're truths? Right? We battled people over what we thought was right and what is the truth. about who should be the president. I'm like, who the hell goes to war over this thing? And then I have to, there's so much unpacking and undoing, and it's just ultimately comes down to, God, I got way too much shit that I have conflict about. I don't even know where to begin. Here, just take the whole thing. Somebody made a post last week about all the stuff as an adult that we have to undo and unpack and give it away. I'm like, maybe there's a way that we can just wholesale this whole thing. Let's just pack it all up and wholesale it back to God and be like, here, take it. So we can give portfolios at a time instead of one property at a time. Just give the whole portfolio over of all our nonsense. Yeah, that's funny. That's a good one. Hopefully I remember that. Anything else?
Hey, Alex.
Hey.
I will share, absolutely. So, thank you for these calls, and I have yet to actually share on these calls, and I know a few of you in here know me more personally. First, I'd like to say that over a year ago when I first met you, Alex, and I heard about your ACIM calls, I had instant resistance. I actually came on a call for 5 minutes and got off because the feeling I received from it, the resistance, I'm like, I'm not doing this. And when we were in Denver, and in a time where, we were staying in a house together, and I came upstairs and you were on live on one of these ACIM calls, and I had just received a text from my son's father, and I was in a very vulnerable state, and I sat next to you, and you ran this call, and I just sat there and cried because everything you said was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. And from that point on, I've come to these calls, every single week, and they truly do deliver everything I need in these moments. And as I hear people sharing about their children and divorces and all this stuff, all these experiences, it's exactly what I have been experiencing. The old story is that my son was taken from me, and my ex-husband is out to make my life a living hell. However, it's all bringing me closer to love and trust and faith, and I realized I asked for this at the same time. Because when I dropped down to my knees and said, I surrender, I trust, this is all showing me and bringing me back closer to love. How much do you trust? How much can you remain in your peace? How much can you show love for another person who's so far from love, to bring them back to love so that things can be even better, right? And Alex, I remember also that day when I was crying and listened to A Course in Miracles, my language was, my son belongs with me. My son belongs with me. He needs to come back home. And you said, well, maybe. And I say maybe all the time now, Alex. Every single time someone says something, I say maybe, because it's something I've taken or borrowed from you, because I've observed you always say, well, maybe, and then think on it more. So when you said, well, maybe, you have to let go of that outcome too. I realized that was a place in my life that was still holding control, attempt to control, and to let that go as well, and really just fully being in full release and full peace. And it's a reminder that when someone else is far from love, it's just a cry that they need more love, and that's really what this is helping me do and get through everything that's being delivered to me, right? Is just keep in peace and keep with love and keep showing love to those who are far from it.
Wow.
So I just wanted to share.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wow. I think no words need to follow that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanna thank her I want to thank her for what it just showed up for me just now. So thank you, Jessica, for saying that, because I guess that's this with my daughter is the ultimate piece of release the control, like you say. Thank you for that. So, and I get to say too that saying that I had a feedback about my conference, and someone told me who is very controlling as well, and she was having glitchings for me. She told me, I cannot believe that I know you all these years and you always being so perfectionist that you were surrender and you really surrender what it was going on with the whole conference. And anyways, it went perfect. And I'm like, because I've been just letting go and releasing all that controlling, because there's nothing that I can, just my illusion.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jessica, for the reminder, because we forget and we get reminded again. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. And you and I get to talk a little bit more about that conference thing, because I'm about to put on my first one, and the entire week before the conference, I won't even be there. I won't even be here in Vegas. I'm going to be in a relationship retreat up in Colorado. I come back on Sunday, and Monday morning, the conference begins. So freaking out and then unfreaking out, and freaking out and unfreaking out. And I do have Jessica on my team, so I'm super excited. And, all the pieces are coming together so perfectly. We just finished crafting the entire journey for all the attendees of how it's going to be like, and what I'm going to be saying and stuff. Just trust. So we'll close this out today with, send me your number. Okay. We'll close this out today with day 178 on a year of miracles. And I think this is perfect for the conclusion of this call, which is, I trust that God has a perfect plan. I trust that there is a perfect plan of unfolding of my highest good, which my rational mind cannot perceive or formulate. God's plan works, and mine does not. I cannot know how my part fits best into a larger plan for the healing of the world, but God does. My job today is merely to open my mind and open my heart so that a higher consciousness can flow through me. I know I am not alone in a random universe, but rather I'm held safely in the arms of God. Dear God, I put my trust in you to lay a path before me, leading from darkness into light. In every moment, I am aligned with you. Your plan is at work in me. May I cleave to what is true, that the truth shall ever guide me. Amen. That concludes our Wednesday Miracle Morning Call. Thank you all so much for this amazing, perfect remembering, and have an amazing day. Bring more peace, more love, more compassion to yourself today and to those around you, and trust deeper in the plans, in God's plans, not yours. All right. Have a good one. Much blessings, everybody. Talk soon.